today is reserved for island hopping on the Croatian coast. Apart from enjoying beautiful ride on the boat, we're going to have two major stops. The first one is the island of Mljet, which happens to be the greenest and one of the most beautiful islands in Croatia. It is also a national park. The second one is the island of Korčula, which combines beautiful scenery with the ancient old town. Hello everyone, I'm Rihanna. For the next 10 days, I will be exploring Croatia. There will be islands, national parks, amazing food, local people, adventures and much more. Come and join me. The island of Mljet is about 23 miles away from Dubrovnik, and it's the southernmost of the larger Croatian islands. Over 2/3 of the island is covered by forest, with the western half of the island declared as a national park since 1960. The Lonely Planet guidebook calls it the most seductive island in the Adriatic. Mljet is also famous for two saltwater lakes in the middle of the island. According to the legend, Mljet is also the island where the nymph Calypso held Odysseus captive for 7 years. I have so many questions about this stunning island, but the first one is, why do you call it the greenest?
Well, because it is the greenest island on the Mediterranean coast, and if you're looking at the national park, about 90% of all continental parts are covered with dense forest, which mostly consists of Aleppo pine tree.
This is not the only reason why they turned it into a national park.
Of course, there were more reasons. We can say that there were three most important reasons to protect this territory. First reason is the forest, of course. The second reason, our beautiful sea and two salty lakes, which are not the real lakes. And last but not least important, it's our history and culture. And we have beautiful cultural monuments, such as the beautiful Benedictine monastery from the 12th century.
This really is a magical island.
It really is. Actually, we can say that it's a mystical island because we have so many legends and stories related to this island. This is also known to be Odysseus Island. So there is a legend of Greek hero Odysseus that he was shipwrecked here. And also in certain parts of the island, there is a legend that the fairies lived there.
I'm in love with this place. After visiting Mljet, it was easy to understand why they call it one of the most beautiful pearls of the Mediterranean. The only thing that made us leave Mljet was the island we were about to explore next, Korčula. One of the coolest things to do when in Korčula is visiting a museum of Marco Polo. Which is strange. How come Marco Polo here? I thought he was Italian.
But I actually say that his birthplace remains a mystery, since there are no written documents to testify that. But what we know for sure that during his childhood he lived in Korčula, and then the most important event happened in September 1298, when he was captured during one of the bloodiest and the most important naval battles of 13th century. This naval battle actually happened in front of the town of Korčula. He was fighting for Venetians. At that time we were Venice. Up to the end of 18th century we were the territory of powerful, mighty Venetian Republic. So this was a clash of Venetians and Genovesians fleet, and although the losses were huge on both sides, 7,000 people died, eventually Genovesians won. And among the rare survivals on Venetian side, they figured out that they got Marco Polo himself, the great adventurer. And it's very interesting to know that he was one of the leaders on one of the galleys, so obviously he knew the channel and he was very familiar with this archipelago. I mean, after all, this was his birthplace.
Apart from a rich history and culture, or famous citizens, Korčula is also known for two domestic white wines, Pošip and Grk. Before coming to Korčula, I've read some comments that Korčula is like a small version of Dubrovnik. Is that true?
Well, I wouldn't agree with that theory, although I was born in Dubrovnik like most of the kids from the island. Korčula is actually older, and what we see while walking down the streets of the old town are beautiful buildings, palaces, houses built from the local stone. by hands of the local stonemasons. So practically we have layers of 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century. When you walk down the streets of Dubrovnik town, mainly you will have 17th century, and rarely buildings from 15th or 16th century. They suffered from a horrible earthquake, so they needed to rebuild the town. So Dubrovnik is like a younger version of Korčula town.
One of the things you shouldn't miss while in Korčula is traditional sword dance. How did that come here and what does that look like?
Well, that's something absolutely not to be missed, and during summer every Thursday evening we have a Moreška dance show. Some centuries ago this type of sword dancing and battles were like to be seen everywhere in the Mediterranean area. But today it has been preserved as such only in the town of Korčula, and it has been passed from one generation to another for more than 450 years. And there are two armies of specially trained Moreška dancers who fight and perform 7 different dances that are very dynamic and very dangerous because they actually play with real swords.
Absolutely not to be missed. So, Old Town in the shape of a fishbone, awesome wine, sword dance, Marco Polo's birthplace, more than enough to visit Korčula. We loved Mljet and Korčula in many different ways, and we were ready to finish the day on a yacht with a delicious dinner along. Croatia has over 1,000 islands. Visiting all might be a little bit of a hard task, but having Korčula and Mljet on top of the list was a great choice. Tomorrow we'll be exploring the most popular and the sunniest island in Croatia, island of Hvar.